Oh, hello everyone. It's Susie Crew again from Esoteric Trading Solutions. I hope you're all well. Be kind to each other. Life is very, very short. Be empathetic because the world, as it gets colder, it's good that there's still some decent people around. Today I'd like to talk about IOTA. Just going through that list that I did the other day from a couple of surveys, which people were looking at what coins they thought were going to do well next year. And IOTA was one of those main coins. It has done really well. It's gone from 59 cents to about $4.20, and I think currently it's trading still around that level at the moment. So I just like to go through that. My business is Esoteric Trading Solutions, just a plug for that. That's my website. There. Pretty much we have subscriptions which are very, very economical in Australian dollars. As you can see, 1 year $2.30. Down to $20 if you're a student monthly. Again, you get access to Slack and a whole lot of YouTubes and from me, and basically trading ideas. We have people in there giving ideas as well, and just lots of things going on. And great if you're also just beginning as well. So I just want to start with IOTA. IOTA, as many people know, is an open source distributed ledger cryptocurrency, and they call themselves a payment system between machines generally and not people, the Internet of Things. They use technology, an unusual technology called directed acrylic graph instead of traditional blockchain, and most people refer to this as the Tangle. And pretty much what this is the mathematical type of computer technology that uses vertices or nodes and a set of edges and unordered pairs of vertices, which, to put it simply, they use nodes, which are basically computer. They call, it can be any sort of device, a computer, a personal computer, a cell phone, and the like, which basically has an IP address, and the data is constructed within this, and effectively the system uses this system basically in topological ordering, so that certain transactions are done before others within the system in terms of the validating sequence. So I'm not up a lot on IT, computer guru stuff, but essentially it's not blockchain. But as they say, it's not blockchain. Their repeated mantra is that it's decentralized, fast, it's free of fees, and it's very, very secure. That's what IOTA developers have said, and the people behind IOTA. So pretty much that's what they say. They say that with the system itself, it's different. You don't need miners in the system, because if you're the transactor, you're the person that makes the transaction, you also validate the transaction. So me as a user, I make a transaction for a payment. In doing that, I actually validate two transactions as I go along. So everyone actively does the consensus and validates transactions as they go, and that's why the system is free. So I guess really in reality the system is not free. The fact is you're using your time and your resources to validate transactions through your computer node. I guess the first thing I've got with this is it's not clear to me how you know that the transaction's correct, the two transactions that you have to validate. And also you have to sign in with your own private key, and the question is that private key still private? That's really the first question I've got. Also, what happens, when you've basically, there's got these unconfirmed transactions in the system? They say that they actually use the random walk model of Monte Carlo model to actually randomly select these transactions for you to confirm. But again, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me in terms of using a random walk model, Monte Carlo model, which I know, quite a bit about, because I did 3 degrees and I ran statistical models pretty much all my life. In using it to actually randomly select transactions within the IOTA system, because the Monte Carlo model basically works on literally, it basically is a statistical model that basically approximates something in terms of probability for a certain occurrence or a certain event. And it actually looks at, the probability of something coming out, as a positive 2 or a positive 3 or something being valued at 20 rather than 10, for example. And it works off, quite a lot of sampling. So in other words, you need to do lots of sampling. You need to have a lot of, numbers in the system. You need a lot of transactions in the system, you want to call it that, or you need, a lot of things to be happening for it to actually make statistical sense. So basically, say if we're looking at, and the Monte Carlo system's often been used to, say, forecast returns going forward for stock, for example. So you might have all these stock returns over 5 years. You put that into the Monte Carlo model. It comes out with a normal distribution curve, and that normal distribution curve will have extremes on the end, and 95 or 96% of those stock returns will fall within a certain range, for example. Say IBM, for example, has had a return over the last 10 years or 15 years of, say, 5%, then most of the 95% of those returns will be in the 95% at 5%, for example, and there might be some extreme outliers. So then you can use the model to actually forecast those returns going forward. But as you can appreciate, you need a lot of data within the Monte Carlo model to actually do that, to forecast the returns going forward. And honestly, it doesn't make sense to me that IOTA use this Monte Carlo model to forecast transactions going forward, because they have seriously limited transactions. There's not enough transactions in the system to forecast how many transactions there are going to be going forward. And it's just bunkum. It doesn't make sense at all. Another thing with the Monte Carlo simulation is it's a big disadvantage, because it relies on probability, and it assumes that everything's equal, and it assumes that markets behave in normal fashion when there's financial crisis, and often they don't. And as we've seen, markets don't, when they're imploding, markets, you have extreme reactions, and they fall outside of two standard deviations of the mean. The mean is like the average return, and 2 standard deviations is like 2 standard errors or 2 standard volatility errors of the mean. So it basically means that it's a very, very wide range to what the average return is. So again, this modelling, random modelling, doesn't make sense to me in this IOTA system of transaction at all. I mean, they say they use the random walk model, Monte Carlo model, to actually forecast unconfirmed transactions, and they select them on that basis, but it honestly just doesn't make sense to me. The Monte Carlo got its name because people were using this system to forecast returns on the casino table. So, they'd go into a casino, say, for a month or 2 months, and literally write down how many times, number 2, been, number 2 has fallen into, come out in terms of the roulette table or something like that. And then they'd build up a model on that and forecast, get an idea of how many times in a probability forecast number 2 is going to hit again. So out of all the different numbers, number 2 could be like 10%, 10% or something. So they'd bet according to that. And that's how the Monte Carlo model got its name. So I don't quite understand how they're using that at all. Again, I've looked at IOTA, the number of transactions they do, and according to today, looking at this internet address, they've got 58 transactions, 13 transactions with value, only 0.4 of 1,000 was transferred, and 13 were transferred. When you look at the nodes and the activity, hardly anything's being done. If you look at this address here, I went to this address here with their stats, and you can't even load it. I went to this address, and there's nothing that shows on it. You can't even load it. And then I went to this address, GitHub, and again, there was hardly anything on there, and it was already 4 months old. If I went to Carduna's address for GitHub, Cardano, you actually saw basically, you know, much more relevant and much more up-to-date stuff. So already I'm wary of this cryptocurrency. IOTA also say they use proof of work, and the two transactions shouldn't be conflicting. So when you do make a transaction, you have to use a specific IP address that IOTA provide, but also you obviously need to provide your private key, but if it's being deposited somewhere else, you can only use that deposit account once. Otherwise, the deposit won't go there. So that's the problem my friend had the other night, and he lost his IOTA effectively. So effectively, it's pretty much, you know, you've got to verify or validate two other supposedly random selected transactions. And IOTA does have a coordinator, because pretty much the system effectively doesn't have many transactions, so they need a coordinator to actually validate transactions themselves, someone that administrates the transactions within the system. Apparently the coordinator is supposed to pick up 38% civil attacks also, but the reality is without the coordinator, IOTA is not considered sufficiently secure, and also in reality it's not really distributed. It's pretty much centralized in some ways by the coordinator who administrates the system, because there's not enough transactions to actually go through the system for transaction makers. For me, for example, if I was a transaction payer, to actually validate two unconfirmed transactions. So that's a problem in itself. They do say that the IOTA people say the more transactions that get referenced and confirmed, the better the system is. But the system, as you saw today, looks like it's only confirmed 13 transactions, which is pretty pitiful. And those transactions had, you know, 0.4 value, 0.4 thousand value, which is basically $400. So the unit of account for IOTA is IOTA, and then they have all different, you know, they'll have 1 million IOTA being IOTA, and then, you know, these will be on the exchange. Now, another concern I do have is the exchanges are not consistent with whether they're calling IOTA or MIOTA or Megalota, and there's a big difference between 1 unit of IOTA and 1 unit of MIOTA. 1 unit of MIOTA equals 1 million IOTA, and you'll see, which we'll talk about later, the crypto exchanges use this interchangeably, which is not good, and it's something that I will come back to, because there is a big difference between one and the other. And if people just look at the capitalization, market capitalization of IOTA, then obviously it depends on how much you think is on issue, and that is a big problem in itself, and we will come back to that. I know most people look at the capitalization, the market capitalization, i.e. number of cryptocurrency on issue times by its price. Obviously, as I said before in previous videos, there's much more to valuation, but even in saying that, that's a third, obviously, of the valuation in terms of the cryptocurrency. But even looking at their valuation, it's a big problem, because the valuation, just looking at it according to that simple valuation, is not correct if the exchanges are using MIOTA and IOTA interchangeably, because 1 IOTA is 1, but 1 MIOTA is actually 1 million IOTA. So we will come back to this. There is a fixed supply of IOTA, which is 27795302832777761, which effectively is 2,779.53 trillion. And the reason why they say that is the way they've got that large supply, according to the founders, these people here, is because they do micro payments, and they'd be doing a lot of small micro payments, according to what they say IOTA is supposed to do, machine to machine. Also, they do say that they have no scalability issues, but that's not what I believe. And that, you know, things should be quite, you know, transferable and easily done, then everything, there shouldn't be any hassle. But that's not what I've seen with other users of IOTA. They've had massive problems transacting using the IOTA technology, and it just hasn't been one or two people. So, you know, I'm very suspicious. And as I said before, you know, the transactions aren't free. It's lying. You basically, even though you're not paying anything, you're basically using your time and your resources. So, and, you know, what happens if the system, you know, is not busy? It's a big problem, and that's effectively why you've got the coordinator. IOTA argued that they don't see this as being a problem, and they believe they've got a solid infrastructure. But look, there's a lot of stuff out there to suggest that they don't have a solid infrastructure. And just through my personal experience with IOTA trying to transact something, and a couple of people I know trying to transact something, it still hasn't hit the exchange account or anything else for that matter. There are a lot of dissenters of IOTA, and some of them, you know, are quite verbal about what they believe is a real problem with the IOTA system. And I must admit, I'm on that side as well. Because from what as I said, from what I've experienced with my personal experience using IOTA technology, it's pretty crap, I have to say. IOTA is not distributed as decentralized because it's not running completely free, because they do have a coordinator that basically has to validate unconfirmed transactions because the system is just not fast enough and it's not busy enough. So, you know, if you're doing 58 transactions and only 13 of those have value in a day, then clearly, you know, the system, you know, you've got hardly any users. Also, they say they need the coordinator to ward off, you know, certain attacks on the system, because the system is still not secure enough to ward off attacks. Nick Johnson, again from Ethereum, who was a core developer, said in September 2017 that he believed that the IOTA system, he had many reservations about the IOTA system. Effectively, the technology that it uses, the technology being used was balanced ternary technology that IOTA uses, and generally every other network out there is binary logic technology. And I tend to agree with him, because balanced ternary technology is very old technology, and it relies on, you know, the hardware system being able to deal with balanced ternary technology. He basically said that, you know, he just thinks that, you know, it's bad technology, and essentially why are they using bad old technology? According to the founders, Sostenbo and Sheena, they said the Tangle has many benefits over blockchain, including free transaction fees and better scaling opportunities, but the reality is it doesn't. I mean, again, this is just bunkum. Johnson didn't see it that way. He basically argued the Tangle system sounds great in theory, but it's bound to run into a number of practical issues that will prevent the technology from effectively tackling the problems it promises to solve. And he said that the system is not practical at all, and I think he's absolutely right about that. He basically said that it runs on existing hardware, which is basically not suitable for binary hardware that everyone else uses. And as a result of that existing hardware for the balanced ternary numerical system that they use, they have to basically convert everything back, you know, from binary to ternary and back again to make sense out of it. And he said that this results in significant storage and computational overhead. And to me that makes sense, because if you're using an old system, balanced ternary system, in terms of your technology, and every other system's on a binary logical system, the computer system, and the hardware of the computer system as well as the software, then if you're taking in any binary logic data, you need to convert that back to ternary, balanced ternary data, and then convert it back to binary to talk to another computer node. So to me, the expense in doing that, the computational overhead of doing that, would be huge, and it would also be, you know, it would take a lot of time to do that. So this is why I'm very suspicious with this technology, I have to say. Again, I asked the question, why are they using old technology? when you look at balanced ternary technology, the oldest calculating machines based on Thomas Fowler in 1840, were basically balanced ternary technology, and you can look that up on Wikipedia. And basically it uses different digits, and basically it's a completely different computer system and hardware system to use computational and to actually calculate things. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me when they're saying they're using this because it's supposed to make things faster and more secure. I mean, the reality is balanced ternary is older oldest calculating machine computer stuff. So I don't understand why they're using this. I just don't understand it. Also, coming back to the Monte Carlo model of random walk, it doesn't deal with with skews in distribution or outliers or things being just zero. It doesn't make sense. It needs a lot of information, and the computational of using this within this balanced ternary would be lengthy, and also would use a lot of computer resource. So I tend to agree with what Nick Johnson has said, just on just looking at it in practical terms, and from what I know, just my limited version of what I know about systems and the like. So people might say, and this is what IOTA people say, but he's just jealous, it's fudding IOTA and all this sort of thing. But if you look at it on the face value, it really doesn't make sense to me at all. Particularly when most computers and their components are mass produced on the binary components for computers and not ternary computers, which have diminished in significance since the 70s. So, you've got to question yourself, why are these guys using the oldest technology from 1840, it's been updated from the 1840, but when everything else is binary, I don't understand that at all. So, they say, yes, we're great, we have no miners and no transaction fees, but they do have transaction fees. They say their system's, fast and secure, but it seems to be anything but that fast and secure. It seems to be the complete opposite. Another dissenter, if you wanted to go to this website here, they were talking about the partnerships that just recently, people were claiming on Reddit and, the fan club of IOTA. And that's why the stock started moving, that, they'd gone into partnership with Microsoft, and they'd gone into partnership with Fujitsu and Cisco and Volkswagen. And according to these companies, and I actually sent an email to Microsoft as well, they haven't come back to me yet, but I wanted to confirm whether they had gone into partnership. Microsoft haven't come back to me, but according to these people, they're just meeting up in Paris and there's no partnership. Someone sent a tweet to Dr. Rolf Werner, CEO of Fujitsu, and according to him, there is no partnership. There was an email sent to Cisco, and according to them, there was no partnership and no official publication from Volkswagen as well. So again, this is more red flags for me. To me, there's just so many red flags that really bother me about this cryptocurrency. I think it's because it's got a massive fan club. The fan clubs believes in all the garbology that obviously the developers have brought out. I think they've just conned them, literally. That's my feeling on it. I don't think something's not right here. That's for sure. Again, there's no validation for these partnerships, and you can certainly look up this email address here and look at that for yourself, pretty much, and that's pretty much what it says. And this tertiary, instead of binary, most of the computer hardware is binary, and, again, to have to convert from binary to ternary back to binary, it's just going to literally slow down all the process, make everything less efficient, more complex, and, it's basically goes against everything that IOTA says they are, that they're efficient, they're this, they're that. It just doesn't make sense at all. It doesn't make sense. I mean, and when you look at what they're doing in terms of transactions, I remember looking at Bitcoin and Ethereum, and Bitcoin, over a month was doing 100,000 transactions. If you divide that by 21 days, that's a lot of transactions. and IOTA's nowhere near that. They do say that the coordinator provides trust and security, but the reality is it's not trust and security. You don't know who the coordinator is, and it's one person, and you don't know what's going on. So I don't think that's right. Another dissenter was this guy, Kyle Samani, on the 4th of December from Multicoin. He basically said that basically the IOTA team have broken one of the sacred rules of crypto. Again, it said that they're just completely they defy the whole point of open source. The management team is unwilling to admit mistakes. Management team is publicly willing to lie about it. There's a lot of stuff out there, and to me, it's buyer beware. I know that this crypto has gone up a lot, but you've got to be really, really concerned about this. There's a lot of information here, so I'll just put this up. Time's starting to run out, and we're over 25 minutes already. But let me just go through this. Other issues, bandwidth limitations. IOTA cannot do smart contracts. Again, that's a problem. It's easily attacked. What else? It's not used to doing human-to-human transactions. They don't have enough of a secure system to do it. They don't have the system grunt. The system is doing so many computational things, from going from the old computing type system to the new, that it just it's taking up all this time. Again, I don't want to go over this too much because we are starting to run out of time here. Hashing rates are not great, and there's cause again, their security is based on usage, but no one seems to use it. And again, I've got pros and cons here. They say it's scalable, but nothing I can see tells me it's scalable. Yes, they've got a very, very strong community, but that just tells me the IOTA developers and the coin developers basically, did a lot of marketing and seriously have done a con job on a lot of people by the looks of it. Security is a real problem. No smart contractors, lack of users, slow settlements, have to change your IP address. The IOTA wallet has been a real problem. It doesn't work. The way things are listed, 1 IOTA doesn't equal 1 myota. Something just doesn't seem right here. Again, if we go to, this is straight off their webpage, 1 IOTA, and 1 IOTA equals, 1 milota equals 1,000,000 IOTA. And I've got a problem with this, because if you look at the market is treating myota, here we go, an IOTA differently. A myota is very different to an IOTA. As I said, 1 myota is equal to 1,000,000 IOTA. So if we say the crypto price is at 468, and they've got this much on issue, this here, to 779.530 trillion. If we divide that by 1,000,000, we get that, which effectively is what is up there. Okay, so this is what they have on issuance. If we divide that by 1,000,000 IOTA, we effectively get that, which is myota. Now, the market, as far as I can see, yes, this has got IOTA myota, but the thing is, you've got to have the right unit per circulating unit. So, 1 IOTA, if it's worth 468, and we have, IOTA here and IOTA here and myota and IOTA, 1 IOTA equals 468, then the issuing level is 2779.53 trillion. And the valuation would be this rather than this, which is, there's a big, big difference in the valuation level according to CoinMarketCap. So CoinMarketCap's got it at that, on the basis that it's myota. Again, 1 myota equals 1,000,000 IOTA. They have it on that basis, but the reality is, if this is IOTA at 468, and this is the issuance of fixed supply, then the valuation is something like that. And that is not funny, because it means that seriously there's a big inconsistency in how the market is using market cap to value this coin. And again, I'll go back to, this is a very simple version of valuation. I don't believe the valuation in its entirety should be just market capitalization, as I said in previous YouTubes. It's only a third of the balance sheet, but just looking at the market cap, which people do look at, even though I'm not a believer in just looking at market cap, my point is, if what I'm saying is correct, and they've actually got this much on issuance, and it's 1 IOTA against 1 unit of IOTA, and there's that many IOTA on issuance, then the valuation's basically 13008.2 trillion compared to a valuation of 13 billion. And there's a huge difference there. I basically, and look, I've got other things here. This is very long. I'm sorry about this. It's much longer than I thought it would be. But, you know, again, I've basically gone back to coin markets and sent them an email and asked them, you know, to come back to me on that, because it's certainly not consistent with how they're treating other cryptocurrencies. And it's not consistent at all with, you know, how they're calculating their market cap. Another thing I've also done is I've sent emails to the IOTA fan club, and not one person's commented on it in terms of that market cap. And I've even sent comments to IOTA's Facebook and asked them to come back to me, and no one's come back to me. So in my mind, there's a lot of red flags in IOTA, and to me it's a bit of a concern. The reason why I think IOTA has done so well, not for technology, it's just that the success of the coin is because, not because its technology is great. If anything, I think it's an absolute scam. The market is very aware of them, doesn't have usability there. For some reason, they think that it's great, but it's not. For some reason, the crypto traders think that this has got terrific value, value in it. It's going to succeed. It's going to have market awareness, you know, penetration. There just seems to be a whole lot of hype about IOTA. And to me, 95% of that hype is absolute bunkum. And again, when you compare Reddit subscribers, you know, 62,000 compared to the others here, completely different. Facebook, again, very high. Twitter, huge. When you compare the YouTubes, absolutely huge compared to the other two cryptocurrencies. So I think IOTA has gone up just simply on massive, massive hype. And when I look at the technology, I'm just seriously, basically worried about it. It's not good. Again, there's another email here from Microsoft. This is one that I sent. I asked them about it. They will come back to me when I sent them that email. So basically, I'm waiting for that. But again, Cisco denied a partnership. And look, honestly, I've got a lot of negatives about IOTA. I just don't like it, and I'll be myself personally will be looking to sell this cryptocurrency as soon as it gets over $4. I think it's honestly a scam. That's my personal view. If people out there don't like it, too bad, but that's my personal view. And I'm not advocating anyone else to sell it. That's up to you in terms of your own finances. But to me, there's just so many red flags on this coin in terms of technology that it just seems like a scam to me. Absolutely. Cheers. I hope you get something out of this. Thank you very much for listening. I didn't expect it to be so long, but and also I didn't cover a lot of other stuff, but I hope you got something out of it. Thank you. Bye again.